assembling a ton of parts on the floor, ready to go on the Yaris GR. Now these are a bunch of suspension upgrades and chassis upgrades from Swave. So instead of me sitting here explaining what Swave is, we've actually got the man down himself to tell you all about the products and, more importantly, to help me fit them.
I'm Tommy. I'm the main supplier and manufacturer. Does a lot of products in Taiwan, and also work with AIRTEC Motorsports. So we do a wide range of motorsport items for handling, chassis.
Now the main standout for the Summit and Swave parts is their build quality. Their strut bars are made out of triple layer tubing and their anti-roll bars are made from solid steel and alloy. Their suspension arms are made from forged aluminium and carbon steel, and all of their parts actually notify you on what material they are made out of, stamped on the part itself. So the next thing we asked Tommy was how long did this all take to develop?
About 2 years in development, and obviously it took us nearly 1.5 years to get it all out.
Do you find there's actually a lot of places that need improving on the Yaris?
Yes, there is a lot of improving on the actual, besides the Yaris, it handles, it's a four-wheel drive, it's a fabulous car already. Some of the chassis products, some of the chassis handling items of the, like example of the back end bit is where actually it's the flimsy end as well. When you're cornering very hard, it actually flex a lot that a lot of people doesn't realise.
Now obviously there are a lot of products on the floor, and going over every single one of them will make this an incredibly long video. But we wanted to ask Tommy to showcase the ones that he thinks are the most important for this vehicle.
So our suspension arm, so as you can all see, this is a forged aluminium alloy, okay, with 35% upgrade rubber. It's good for road use and track day use. That is not like polythene bushes, it's really hard. So this is more like for a comfortable ride, well as you still can use it as a track day vehicle as well. So as you know, it's just fully adjustable again. And also the selling point of our end, see a lot of suspension arm at the back, there's a cap. Normally what they do is they normally weld the unit, they'll cap that locks it, and then it's welded as well. So as you can see, it's extremely strong. Exactly the toe arm as well. So the toe arm is rose joint. We do two type. We do a forged aluminium one, and also we do a with the rubber. But this is the one that's for track use, and this is the one with rose joint. Same again, as you can see, guys. You see, they're all with cap bolts, and it's got a cap, and then it's welded back on as well. So a lot of like other toe arm manufacturers, you can see, you can look at it yourself. It wouldn't be like this. Our drop link. Now our beautiful drop link this is forged aluminium, but the whole center is solid. It's a solid piece. It's not hollow. A lot of manufacturers does the one they do is hollow inside, so it actually will flex. And the most important selling point of our drop link is you can see there's like a little small grub screws. So what this grub screw is, you've got 4 of them, okay? So the grub screw goes inside, it locks the actual threads. In the UK or in the market now, is only with a nut and just locked, but without this kind of design. This is one of our R&D design that actually we find for people using on tracks. And what they do is they always find this always get loose after a little while. Even though you put Loctite in that, this still will lose. But what this does is it actually completely locks it and doesn't move at all, because it shuts the actual threads inside. We do call a carbon double skin called a bumper brace. As you can guys see it with all the materials, it tells you what material that is as well, what kind of steel. When this goes in at the back of the rear panel, it will not do this anymore, because at the rear of the panel it is very flimsy. It will actually strengthens it and stiffens it. So a lot of people will say, what a bumper bar do? So this is what it actually does for the actual rear panel chassis itself. This is our design of the front strut bar, front and rear. This is like carbon steel, but this is 2.2 mil thick for it to work on the actual strut tower. That's how a strut bar should be constructed to work, because you can buy lots of other strut bars in the market, maybe a lot cheaper, but you can see the material is very thin, and when it goes on, only for show, but it doesn't work. But when this goes on, it actually uprated around about 35% to the strut tower itself.
So we've just gone over a few things there, mainly the suspension parts of the car, but as you can see, there's actually a lot more that we haven't mentioned.
There's actually a lot of external braces and undercar braces, and also we've actually got drop links and upgraded drop links as well for all the anti-roll bars that we mentioned, but we're never going to get any of this on the car if we sit here talking about it. So we're going to pull the Yaris into the unit and start going about installing all of this stuff. So our job today is to install all that we can of these parts onto the GI Yaris. Now there's a lot of parts that we haven't mentioned, but if you do want to see what all of these are, they will all be listed and there will be a write-up of each product on our website. For now, let's get installing everything. First thing we're going to start on is the rear of the car. As Tommy was saying earlier, he was saying that it's the rear of the car which have the biggest potential issues. And which you actually get the most upgrades from. So we're going to start at the rear, and also that helps because it's usually easy doing things at the rear of the car than the front of the car. So first of all, we're going to change the anti-roll bar. We've got 2 arms to change as well. One is a toe adjusting arm and one is a camber adjusting arm. And to actually get to the camber adjusting arm, you've got to remove the toe adjusting arm and the anti-roll bar. So instead of doing one thing at a time, we're actually going to remove those 3 things on the Yaris. So first of all, you want to remove the 2 bolts holding the bush on the anti-roll bar, and these are 14mm. The bottom ones are very easy to access, but the top ones are a lot more difficult, and you will have to use a spanner to get up there, and you might have to bend your arms a little bit. Now the next thing you need to do is remove the stabilizer link. Annoyingly, Toyota decided to put this bolt in through this way, meaning you can't actually take the bolt out totally. So you'll have to just loosen this nut off, and then you'll need to loosen off the nut on the other side of the top of the stabilizer link. Once those are both loose on either side, you'll actually be able to remove the anti-roll bar from the stabilizer link, and you will should be able to wiggle it out through the exhaust. Now, with the anti-roll bar out the way, removing the 2 arms is a lot easier, and this is just held on by 2 nuts and bolts. Now luckily our Yaris has hardly done any miles, so these nuts come off particularly easy. In fact, we didn't even have to hold the bolt on the other side, and once you pull these 2 nuts out, the lower arm should just drop out. Now the camber arm, which I'm going to call the U-arm because it's shaped like a U, is a little bit more difficult to get out, but it's the exact same nut and bolt setup as the lower toe arm. First of all, I would actually remove the nut from this side, just like this, and the other end is actually quite hard to access because it bolts into the top of the subframe and you've got really limited access on the other side. So for that reason, I would remove the bolt end from this side and just hope that you don't need to get anything to hold the nut on the other side, as it is really tough to access, but you can get it out with your hands. Now you might have to do a little bit of wiggling on the bush to get the bolts out, but once the bolts are out, the arm will just slide through like this. Now here's a comparison of the 3 parts that we've removed and the Swave parts which are going to replace them. You can massively see the difference in the thickness and the strength of each part, and not to mention these are fully adjustable. And then it's just reinstalling the camber arm, reinstalling the toe arm, and you can actually start installing the anti-roll bar after this as well. Now the kit does come with 2 new anti-roll bar bushes, but you will have to reuse the caps which hold the bushes onto the subframe. Now I found the best way to install this was to actually just get the bolt starting to thread on the bushes that hold it to the subframe. Don't fully tighten these, but just make sure that they are threaded. And then install the new stabilizer links which actually come with the anti-roll bar, and make sure you tighten up everything once everything is actually in its place. Now there are a bunch of underbody braces which are very easy to install. They are all just a case of taking nuts off the car, putting the brace on, and then putting the nuts back on as well. First of all, the most easiest one to do is this one here, which connects to one of the lower arms. Now the next brace we're going to install is going to connect the lower half of the subframe to the top half of the subframe, and to bolt this on, you first want to remove the nut which holds on the eccentric washer for the camber adjustment. And next you want to remove the nut for the main subframe mounting. This will be tight and you will need a breaker bar. You won't need to support the subframe because the other ones will be holding it up tight to the car, so you don't need to worry about that. Once you've removed the 2 nuts, it's as simple as putting the brace up against the bolts and just reinstalling the nuts which you removed. There are 2 of these, so make sure you do it to the other side as well. And there's one more thing to finish off the rear underneath of the car, and that is this brace here. And you use the exact same methods as we've done so far. Just remove the nut, install the brace, and then reinstall the nut on top. So we actually already have a few Swave parts already on the Yaris, the strut brace being